3 or 4 California Highway Patrol units engaged in this pursuit. Again, the air unit is the one calling out the shots, giving those officers behind him an opportunity to give him a little bit of breathing room, especially considering the driving that we're seeing here and the behavior that we are able to see from the front view here, looking straight through that windshield. So he is encountering a little bit of traffic, slowing down with traffic, but again, we've seen no hesitation to swerve around traffic at times, even going the wrong way as he was trying to navigate the eastern part of Long Beach. He was at one point going westbound into downtown Long Beach and then turned around on 2nd Ave, or 2nd Street rather, and again, made his way back towards PCH, where he is continuing this erratic pursuit. It was a much slower pursuit in the early minutes of this, about 35 miles per hour. He's now doubled his speed, doing much closer to 60 to 65 miles per hour, now pushing 74 miles per hour on PCH. We hadn't heard of any collisions, and again, I think it's important to note that we do not even know what the initial reason was for Long Beach police to initiate the pursuit. But when California Highway Patrol took it over, Long Beach said, well, we're not really interested anymore. You guys can cancel this pursuit. At some point, he may have collided with something, or maybe that damage was already there. Unfortunately, we have not heard of how that happened. No idea whether there have been any collisions today involving this vehicle. But in any event, California Highway Patrol, for pretty good reason, I would say, has decided to maintain this pursuit mode and keep a very close eye on this suspect. Again, dangerous driving and erratic behavior, especially in the middle of rush hour here, is all the reason they need to get this guy off the road. Now, if it gets much more dangerous, they have to change their calculus just a little bit. But right now, you can see as he makes his way into the heart of Huntington Beach, the traffic on PCH is a bit slower. He's encountering much slower beach traffic, which, as you would expect, is only about 35 miles per hour, especially with all of the pedestrians crossing PCH here. So he's now approaching Main Street right in front of the Huntington Beach Pier here and continuing past all this traffic, guys. So here comes a motor officer pulling up in front. That's unusual. We don't see that very often. Occasionally we have seen in recent weeks a similar pursuit where other officers, this is over in the South Bay, we saw CHP actually cut vehicles off and try to box them in. So some new tactics, I think, recently by California Highway Patrol. In any event, he's using that shoulder to get around some of the slow traffic. To answer your question, Mark, as he makes his way further down here, southbound on PCH, the traffic lightens up, and he'll have plenty of pavement to play with once he gets past this little stretch here. Again, this is the busiest part of Huntington Beach. An older model Toyota, maybe a Corolla, I think we're looking at here, with very heavy front-end damage. The rest of the vehicle appears to be mostly intact, I think, but as he gets a little more open road here, you can see him pushing the pedal to the metal and picking up much more steam, again, doing about 50 to 60 miles per hour as that primary unit, once again, in a position where they have fallen back. I did not see where that motorcycle went, but now it looks like those ground units are re-engaging, and now they're right on his tail. Now they're just a couple of car lengths behind him, especially that primary SUV right there, that CHP Interceptor, now right on his tail with lights and sirens blaring. This is back in hot pursuit. They gave it an attempt. They tried to pull back a little bit. Airship was doing most of the work. I'm not sure if that airship has to go refuel. In fact, I don't see it. Do you still see? They may have swapped out. I think they've swapped helicopters. Anaheim's police helicopter has now taken over the aerial duties here, and the ground units are now closing in. They've closed that gap dramatically in the last 2 minutes here. As you can see, he is now still showing no signs of slowing down and has a lot more pressure coming from behind. Though it's a great opportunity because there's nobody in his way, no other collateral damage, and that's the perfect situation. There is a center median, but you can still do it. This is just above the speed threshold. By the way, the initial want for this suspect, I'm being told now, is speed. So this was a speeding ticket to start with. It has obviously graduated to much more serious charges. But once you saw even a glimmer of expectation for that pit maneuver, you can see he has dramatically amped up the speed here, now doing 80 to 90 miles per hour through Huntington Beach down PCH. So that pit attempt. I don't know if you want to call it a pit attempt, but he was certainly showing signs of a pit maneuver. Has obviously gone out the window as the driver now clearly desperate to get away from those ground units. Back on the wrong side of PCH, going through a red light, doing whatever he can to create more distance and get away from those ground units. Probably not aware yet of that helicopter. He's not going to get very far, but I don't think he is in the right state of mind to even, make all of those decisions. He's just running for it at this point, hoping that he could buy some freedom here, but he is on borrowed time. The vehicle, other than that front bumper, is operating fairly normally, so the vehicle's in decent shape. Unclear how much fuel is in the tank, but he is going to take this, I think, as long as he can. I don't see any signs of him attempting to dump the vehicle yet. Certainly it's a possibility. That's something they're prepared for. They're prepared for that foot bail if it happens. But going this speed on PCH, it seems like he's just going to take this as far as he can. Of course, PCH goes much further than this, so this could go on for some time as he passes through various jurisdictions down here in Orange County. But CHP is the primary agency now involved in this pursuit. Again, to recap, Long Beach Police initiating this pursuit. It was initially just a speeding ticket, and now, obviously, a much more dangerous suspect behind the wheel here. I think they, he slowed down, and that was the opportunity, or was one opportunity for a pit maneuver. But of course, once he got through the intersection, he sped up, and I think that just went out the window. Those pit maneuvers are very carefully timed, and really the ideal speed limit is about 35, maybe 40, 45 miles per hour at times. We've seen them push it a little bit. Of course, there has to be nobody else in danger, no other motorists directly behind him or around him, and it certainly appears, as I look out the window, he is on open road here. 3 lanes of PCH wide open as he continues down, now coming up on another light. If he goes through the intersection here and comes out the other side by himself, that will be another opportunity for a pit maneuver, assuming he's doing about 30 to 40 miles per hour. Here comes, slowing down, here comes the pit. Yep, great opportunity. That was an attempt, and he sped up. He was able to evade that pit maneuver. So now he's onto them. They're going to probably try again and again as many times as they see that opportunity come. But obviously, as time goes by here, he is much more agitated and clearly demonstrating that by stepping on the gas and pushing these speeds upwards of 80 miles per hour down PCH. So another intersection coming up here. Another couple of cars as well. So again, there can't be any other traffic in the way here to execute that pit maneuver safely. Here he comes making a right turn. This is going to be a right turn off of PCH. That's going to put him on Newport Boulevard. It's going to put him on Newport Boulevard, I think. And he is now going northbound Newport. Now, he could get back on PCH, or he can continue. It looks like he's continuing, committing to the northbound lanes of Newport Boulevard. Now in Newport Beach, in a much busier part of town again. Yeah, the stretch between Huntington and Newport is where they had their opportunity, where traffic is much lighter. Once you get into busy Newport Beach, I don't think we're going to see many pit maneuver opportunities, at least for the next several miles here. So heavier traffic here as he makes his way northbound on Newport Beach, Newport Boulevard, rather. That motor unit now jumping in front there, trying to keep close eyes on him. And that primary SUV falling back just a little bit. We're getting a little bit of a better vantage point, a different point of view of this vehicle. It looks like some rear damage as well. In fact, the entire rear bumper is missing. So a missing front bumper and a missing rear bumper leads you to believe that the driving that we're seeing here is a pattern, a habit, whatever you want to call it, but he has obviously collided with a number of either objects, property, cars. We don't know what he's hit, but this vehicle has been through a rough afternoon, and now you can see that motor unit pulling up right behind him once again. Again, this is in hot pursuit. CHP desperate to get this guy off the road as he makes his way through very busy parts of our area here, especially in the middle of rush hour on a Thursday afternoon, starting in busy Long Beach, ending up on PCH through Seal Beach into the heart of Huntington Beach, straight down PCH at 80 miles per hour at times, now on the northbound side of Newport Boulevard at 55 miles per hour on a busy Thursday afternoon here in downtown Newport Beach. Yeah, we are northbound on Newport Boulevard at coming up on, that's going to be 22nd Street. So we're now really pushing the pedal to the metal, upwards of 90 to 100 miles per hour on Newport Boulevard, heading up towards downtown Irvine here. If we continue at these speeds, I don't think these officers are going to be able to keep this distance. They're going to have to pull back a little bit, I believe, especially as the traffic increases, getting closer to the 73 and the 405. You have the 73 first, then the 405. He'll have an opportunity to get on either one of those freeways or take this into Irvine proper, where he will have lots of surface streets to maneuver. But he has, for the most part, chosen the path of least resistance. And in this case, he is on a pretty empty Newport Boulevard. Again, heading up towards Irvine at about now 79 miles per hour, 80 miles per hour, according to our real-time speed tracker. They handed it off. In fact, they even told CHP, they said, listen, we're not interested anymore. You can go ahead and cancel. California Highway Patrol, in many instances, will go ahead and heed that unless they see evidence that warrants otherwise. And in this case, they certainly saw driving that was unacceptable and something that is entirely worth their efforts here to get this person off the road. And you can see why in the last several minutes the driving is much worse than just speeding, as he now gets onto the 55 freeway here. He's in, man, look at that vehicle. Kind of, I don't know what he hit there, if he just took a little hump, but the vehicle appears to, the suspension of that vehicle appears to be bouncing quite a bit by my eye. In any event, he's now going northbound on 73 towards the 405 freeway. This could end up back on the 405, guys, in which case you're going to see a whole lot more traffic if he doesn't get off soon. In fact, I don't think he has an opportunity to get off for at least the next half mile. He's going to end up in bumper-to-bumper traffic here in just a second. I don't see how he gets out of this. He is committed to the northbound 405 now, and that is going to be bumper-to-bumper in just about 30 seconds. Yeah, a few SUVs. They have rotated through that primary unit, has rotated several times. They're still pretty close behind him. There's the exit. There's the one exit he's taking. It's going to be, I didn't catch that street, but he's taking an exit that's going to take him off of the freeway, slowing down dramatically here. Again, that California Highway Patrol, a fresh primary unit behind him, maybe about 8 car lengths behind him possibly, and a few more units right behind him, including a motor unit. And also, I should mention, Anaheim PD's helicopter coordinating this from above. So the California Highway Patrol helicopter went back for fuel. Anaheim PD now helping out here from above, and now 2 units that I count, and a motor unit far back, but 2 SUVs right on his tail as he gets off of the 405 here. We'll try and get a street. No, that's exactly right. As he moves from CHP station through various jurisdictions, they hand this off to their neighboring CHP stations. So he's now been through a number of CHP areas. I think we're well south of the Westminster station now. I'm not exactly sure which office is handling this, but as he moves through, we expect to see new units in the pursuit. That white SUV indicative of a supervisor, most likely, who is now the lead unit in this pursuit. And he is certainly pit authorized, so if he slows down, we will likely see another pit attempt if there's an opportunity. But with all of this traffic, it's unlikely. There has to be much less traffic and a lot of wide open pavement to execute that pit maneuver safely. And of course, the vehicle has to slow down dramatically in this case to below 40 miles per hour. Yeah, you hear those sirens blaring, everybody instinctively starts to pull over to the right, and especially in Southern California, where it is routine now to hear these police chases coming up behind you or in your vicinity. Look at this, here comes the pit. There's the pit. A good opportunity for a pit in the middle of that U-turn there, and now he's going the opposite direction on, I think that's Harbor Boulevard. Did not immobilize the vehicle. It was a good little smack. But now, again, things have been amped up dramatically. We've now seen a use of force by California Highway Patrol, and here's another pit attempt right here. A great opportunity coming up from the right rear, spinning the vehicle out of control. That inertia switch is deactivated, and now you can see he is face-to-face with a black and white. That primary unit kept going. 2 more units rolling up face-to-face, and now they will get out of their vehicles, avoid all crossfire, and draw their guns squarely aimed at that driver's seat. That driver is now face-to-face with a CHP officer. That door still shut. No sign of him following orders yet, but the canine happens to be already on scene there. So great news. If they need to use that canine unit, they will. Of course, that's the, not something we want to see, but of course that's the job of that dog. And you can see other officers ready to pounce if he tries to pull anything here. Now, keep in mind, we don't know if he's able to turn that vehicle back on. Most likely, he very well may be, in which case he could put it in reverse and continue this. But so far, over the last 45 seconds, that vehicle has not moved an inch, but we still don't see that driver's side. Here it is. Here comes the driver's side door popping open. This person obviously has had enough, and it looks like he is starting to make better decisions. At least that driver's side door is open. They want to see those hands up in the air, and they want to see those hands empty, most importantly. Stepping out of the vehicle, appears to be following orders. When you have all of those sirens, those guns pointed at you, and a dog barking at you, you start to think a little more clearly about life. And here he is, now stepping backwards towards those officers, giving up. These officers executing a felony arrest as he gets down on his knees, hands up in the air, and it certainly looks, we can now zoom in a little bit, I just want to see, looks like those hands are now empty. So it looks like this is going to come to a peaceful resolution. CHP seeing 2 or 3 excellent opportunities for a safe pit maneuver, and this was a textbook pit maneuver leading to a peaceful resolution to this pretty wild pursuit here in the OC, guys.